I know everyone is familiar with how the change is actually happening in the country. I would like to take you through the demographics of what we found during this short notice, the virtual career fair. This was a short notice career virtual fair, and I would like to take you through the demographics, which will reveal quite something that is interesting. Participants were only 27. What we are looking into was the theme. We're already struggling to get jobs. Those of us who are in the working industry are seeing the challenge of replacement and becoming obsolete in their field. And that is something that not so many people are talking about. The career emerging fields are also different, and it's bringing some sort of headache. You sleep today not knowing whether you'll be relevant tomorrow. And that's something that prompted TTACS in collaboration with FlexVertex to bring this on board, especially after we realized that we could not supply the required manpower to handle the migration of data from NoSQL, from SQL to SQL database to NoSQL. So that's what brought this. What interestingly caught my eye was the aspect of demographics. And this one is something that I would like us share. For instance, if you look at this chart, it tells you the current, this particular chart. Among the 27, we're dealing with people who are already in the employment. And what is driving towards this is very, very much important. At 40%, if 40% of this particular data set want to elevate their career paths into something, it speaks volume to those who are not in the employment industry already. Because think of this player who is in the field, they're already playing, but they feel like they need so much training. That person at the bench, how should they be responding to that? It means that the person at the bench should actually be putting in more work than any other person so that they become relevant and get that position. We also look at another trend. We have career switcher, and the career switchers is an interesting area because, like you know, Kenya has been testing AI implementation in different ways. I've been one of the people that have been monitoring closely. We've checked the possibility. Kenya has actually checked the possibility of building a data center here. And if you can remember, last month we had so much problem with the electricity. Power shortage was something that was happening, which is not common, but that should have told you something. The feedback that came from that experiment that they were doing was that they cannot have a data center because of the power shortage. And that sounds an alarm. You look at AI implementation, it is being taken to different parastatal entries. Look at now KRA. As we were scrambling to file our KRA, we were having Shuru, which was helping people with filing the returns. So Shuru was doing something. Shuru was an interactive chatbot helping you with filing KRA. You can imagine how many customer care service people got quote unquote replaced. Forget about that. Let's talk about the biggest telco in Kenya, Safaricom. Long time ago, probably a year ago, you could call the 100 and then speak to an agent. Right now, that is next to impossible. Basically, dealing with the chatbot, talks to you, solve your problem. My friends in the education sector can agree with me that AI implementation in the education center is also fast moving. In fact, in JSS, my sources tells me that they're already having pre-training so that they can embrace the AI. But that will point us somewhere else. And if I see my respondent telling me that they want to switch careers, I understand them and I get where that is coming. You look at the health sector, the AI is again doing wonders. So there's no single industry that is not being affected, either directly or indirectly, and this demographic shows that clearly. Let me take you to something which actually also found interesting. Recent graduates are finding it to be one of the biggest challenge because you tell me you are taught how to do programming, you can develop a model, you can develop an app, which you are normally do. So software developers normally come with this idea of let me build a calculator app, generic of course, and then showcase it. Now I can be a developer. But from the rise of models like Cloudy, Rock, Lovable, a lot are being done that replaces what the junior software developer was doing before. Our friends from the data side are not also left behind because right now you can just upload your data, whether it's in Excel form, you have a compiler there, you do the analysis of it, gives you insight. You just a button press. So technically, that's another challenge. If I look at it, there's not a single group that is not affected. That's important to mention. Now, you look at this idea, what professional skill track are you currently pursuing and where are you looking to pivot? 37% of this particular data set, it's mentioning the area that they are finding so fascinating. If I put my toggle here, routine jobs are becoming either boring or they are losing meaning in terms of automation, they're being automated, and those codes become redundant and the company do away with them without saying a word. If you work in the train AI sector, you understand a company called Summersource. Summersource was behind meta training in evaluation. They also worked on the Meta Llama project. What happened after they trained the model to success? The model replaced them into now training and evaluating other running algorithms. So everyone doesn't want to be in that particular angle. It's a point where people feel insecure. How do I go about it? And who is saying what about this? I'm also looking at people in the tech field. They also seek out the normal day-to-day operation which can be done with the AI because I know they're using the AI already and they're seeing the risk that it comes with. So if you're already in the junior side, you're already affected before you realize. 11% are in the software engineering section, which is got the biggest hit. Long time, 3 years ago, developing a website could cost upwards of 50,000. Minimum price would be 30,000. Now it's done. I even saw an advert about developing a website at 4,000, which I even asked myself, how are you going to pay for the domain? How are you going to pay for the hosting? But that is just the competition that has been embedded in that area. Even the data that supports it. One of the areas that have got a bigger hit is the data science and data analytics track. If you're looking to transition from basic junior data analyst doing SQL queries, manual labeling to advanced data science, there's much that need to transform between you and the work because, like I mentioned, a lot of these are being automated. We even know the feedback before you run the analysis. We can actually get it. For example, the data I'm showing you, I didn't do the analysis. It's just what came through the form. Automatically, we see the summary, and we can even get insight from the summary. It tells you it could have been some data analyst somewhere analyzing this and giving us this beautiful presentation. Look at it; it's already generated itself. So to say, the industry is moving. We have to cope with it. A lot is happening. And the response of people, you can look at the industry. It doesn't choose like you are from education sector, you're from health sector, you're from finance, you're from the legal sector. No, the AI doesn't choose. It's actually coming for everything. It's think of it like a storm. It's sweeping anything it gets along. And that is something that is worth noting. So all these share something that we mentioned. It shares the fact that TTACS saw it useful that its people now understand what is referred to as the big tech migration. What is this tech migration about? This tech migration is all about realizing two things. We realize and appreciate that AI is there, and obviously it is there to stay. We gave it a different dimension, a different view. We looked at the phase one. What I call phase one is probably phase two, because if you trace AI, you trace it back, because we have traditional AI, modern AI, and then we have super AI. But now let me talk from African context. Let me talk from a layman perspective. AI boom came, hit Africa, for instance, when ChatGPT was launched. What was ChatGPT able to do? ChatGPT is an example of an LLM. An LLM might sound like a big language. It basically means large language model. Its launch came with so many things. Research became easier. We also have specific tools that are developed for research, software development, data analysis. There are so many. But now let's talk about that particular wave where things are being developed. I call it the first wave of AI. The first wave of AI had two things. We were having what we call the builders, and then we had the users. This is where the builders were actually people who could make something with AI. So the birth of LLMs came from it. That's why we got ChatGPT, we got Gemini, we got DeepSeek, a lot of these generative models. That's where automation found its root, because now we could have these automation tools. We know N8N, you know them. There are so many, but we can only talk about them based on their effect and impact on people who are having these careers with them. Think about the replacement that I talked about. Now, everyone was building and building and building. That's what I call the build era. But now, on the flip side, we have the users. The users were me and you, people who found it fascinating. If I feared talking to someone and chatting, I could basically use ChatGPT to actually chat on my behalf. So I became a consumer. A content creator, I could now generate my own images. Think about Google giving Nano Banana. Nano Banana is now being used to generate images, and it can use in some. Remember, whenever an AI tool was being launched, someone was being replaced, because, for example, Nano Banana replaced so many graphic designers. By the way, a lot of things that we are using, we as streeters, for example, the PowerPoint presentation that I'm having with you has actually been generated. And that one, while it is replacing the graphical designers and their work, it's giving birth to a career called prompt engineer, where you become so good in your prompt that it gives you what you need to have. So this particular era gave birth to users and builders. So among the builders, the new career that came to exist was now prompt engineer, who could actually talk to AI in a language that it could understand and return the desired output. During that process, something also came along with it. Remember, when you keep on prompting and prompting and prompting, asking questions, sometimes AI wasn't giving the right answers. We saw the hallucinations, the lagging, and so on and so forth. That hallucination is something that interested TTACS and other companies. We'll be talking about it outright. This hallucination brought in a major concern. AI was being used beyond the border. It could be used in the health sectors to ask questions. I'm feeling this way. What do you think? What do you recommend? It could give an answer based on what it was trained under, and underline that aspect of trained under, because it is going to influence the entire curriculum of what is changing and why it's changing. So this era brought in a need for something more sovereign. Countries started complaining about the data. Now that data becomes like, think about data like the fuel. You know, you can't be having a vehicle, whatever model, whether it's Subaru, whether it's Nissan, whether it's Mercedes. One thing that is obvious we have to go to the petroleum station and we have to fuel. When the fuel is good, irrespective of the car, we'll see the right performance and we'll enjoy the ride. When the fuel is bad, we're expecting some engine knock and some choking. The vehicle would still be moving, but we expect some breakdown somewhere at the end of the day. So literally, that is how AI became affected. So the data is the fuel, AI is the vehicle, AI is the vehicle, result is the performance. With good fuel, you get good performance. With fuel that is not, we are not certain about, you get a performance that has got hiccups here and there. So the need for good performance brought what we call the second wave of AI. Because tell me, how do I want to enjoy this car in a sport mode with V-Power fuel? Like they said that happened recently, realized that Shell wasn't offering the actual V-Power, the octane level was low. So the performance is actually not as was anticipated. Similar, AI ought to be performing a certain way, but the field was consuming had a problem. And that became the new gold because we had companies, like I mentioned, what we are doing was prompted by two companies. One company, you can look it up, is Oxylabs, and the other company is FlexWorks. What do these companies have in common? They deal with the fuel of AI. And one deals also with the storage of that particular fuel. Remember, you can be having a very good fuel, but if you store it in a bad place, it's going to be contaminated. When it's contaminated and it's used, however how good it was, it's still going to affect the performance, in fact, negatively. So to speak, we realized that AI was being trained on scrapped data. For example, Oxylab deals with web scrapping. It deals with the magnitude billions of data. But you see, this web scrapped data needs a lot for it to be good for the right output. And that's where we actually centered our eyes. FlexVertex, for instance, was actually the tank used to store this particular data, which was changing you from a basic NoSQL user to a NoSQL builder. So the face of the second wave AI is what we call the data or the fail error. The second wave AI concentrates on two particular major areas, irrespective of the field that you are in. We look at you in terms of the field and your technical capability as with AI coupled up in it. For instance, this wave brought in the infrastructure aspect and the governance. Why am I saying it brought this error? For us to have the right fuel to fill the AI models, because if there's something that is constant in this particular universe is change. The only thing we can do is embrace it. Like a tsunami, you can't stop a tsunami. You either embrace it or it sweeps you. So when the infrastructure era came, the second wave came, what we talked about and looked into is who is in the infrastructure side and who is in the governance side. That is very, very important for you to know. Why so? Governance needed people that have got what is called domain knowledge. What is domain knowledge? I am a doctor. I've gone to school. I've been practicing my medicine this particular years. I have this experience. So I have the domain experience. I am a teacher. I've been teaching this course for this particular years. I have this domain experience. So you realize that the entire universe, everyone normally have a domain expertise. And that is very, very important to know. But then again, on the flip side, we have people who have what is called the architectural or executional knowledge. For example, a developer might develop for you an application for a school management system. They don't know anything about a school. You just tell them a problem, they made something to solve the problem. Both of you live satisfied. So they fall under what we call the infrastructure. Their role is to ensure that this particular AI is going to be trained with the right tools and the right parameters so that it does not hallucinate. But training alone and also development is not enough for us to have the desired output. And that's where governance becomes so much important. if I'm going to make a model that is being used in a school, I need a teacher besides me. And this teacher is not just a teacher, he's a teacher that understands tech. He's a teacher that understands AI. I need a doctor who actually is AI literate so that they understand this particular model and they know here it is actually bringing this problem. And you change here. So their role is to govern this particular thing. And that is giving rise to so many careers that we are going to talk about there later. So I would also like to introduce Bill. Bill Malaya.
Learning from human feedback, agentic traces, AI output evaluation, RAG tokenization, and LangChain. Now, I'd like to go through this as soon as possible, but I wouldn't want to take your time. First of all, in the past year, I've had a privilege of working with a frontier AI model training group where I was a reviewer. And the way we worked is we would work with professionals from different backgrounds, that is finance, the medical field, law. And in this particular working environment, I've had to learn a lot. And one of the main things I learned that while AI is here and in most cases will replace a lot of jobs, those who are positioned well, knowing how to curate data for training, how to curate data for training, using domain experience. Let's say you've been in finance, let's say 10 years, you know how workflows work. So how do we translate that into accurate data that can be used to train your AI? How do we use your knowledge to refine AI responses? So, yeah. So, I'd like to say this is not just another AI talk. This question is about understanding how the AI job market is changing and how professionals in every field can move closer to opportunity and not risk. So, who is this conversation aimed at? First of all, I will start with my people, the software developers, the people writing code every day and want to contribute to AI systems, not just train models. Another group is the analysts and researchers. That's the professionals working with data who need to understand how AI changes analysis and decision making. The third group is the operation professionals, leaders of workflows, processes, systems, who needs to see how AI fits into operations. And the last is career switchers and students. Now, this is the best part because, I've been there. How do you transition to this new age of AI when, there is no guide So these are for people who are looking transition and want a grounded view of where real opportunity exists. So in the few months ago, we have been training. What has actually changed? So the shift actually goes far beyond software engineering. It affects analysts, researchers, content professionals, operation teams, and anyone working with data. And truth be told, the entry-level roles are shrinking, while the practical experience keeps existing. So how do you keep up with that? Because employers want people who can work with AI-assisted tools and workflows from day one. So how do you transition to be relevant in the current AI era, whether you are a student or a working profession? So I think one of the biggest thing I've come to learn is people think you need to become an AI builder, especially for, I'd say, my people in software engineering. And the truth is, you do not. You need to, yes, you can follow that path, of which it's a good path, but you need to start learning about AI. And this path focuses on how models are trained, the math, but it represents a very small slice of AI job today. So how do you get in a pool where you are hireable, where recruiters can reach out to you directly? So how do you do that is by getting the skills to to manage and define data quality, defining evaluation criteria, understanding system behavior, and making outputs reliable and useful. This does not only make you relevant, it's in the context of your job. It also positions you well in the market so that hiring manager can reach out and offer you AI training. So I won't take much of the time. I will go through what we've been doing for the AI training and the bottlenecks of what we've come to find in the job. And some of them is inconsistent data. And because AI models are as strong as data behind it. So when training, how do we find the right pipeline for data? Which kind of metrics do we collect? The second one is undefined quality standards. So at the end of the day, as much as we need as much as the AI system is getting better, we need human touch in the training process. That is in all domains, finance, medical, law. The fourth bottleneck is fragile pipelines. At a very scale, that a pipeline is hard to trust. The most failures are silent. The output looks right, but it's wrong. So how do you get yourself into this? How do you get yourself in a position to be where you control all these four aspects: the inconsistent data, undefined quality standards, fragile pipelines, and last one, system reliability gaps? So when you So when you get through with the upcoming prepared bootcamp, I believe we will cover all this. And so in on what we've just talked about and emerging roles for the non-research AI, new careers are opening up around the operation side of AI. Yes, this sits at the intersection of technology, domain, experts, and business outcomes. And like I've said, they are within reach for many people from many backgrounds. The titles may still evolve, but yeah, the work is still. And yeah, one of them is data preparation. There is quality assurance, evaluation logic, pipeline coordination. I won't go much into this because I think I've already talked about it, and maybe Vinjan will explain further. Yeah. So how does the change affect us, and how do we fit different backgrounds in this new AI era? AI systems, in my experience, are built by technical and non-technical collaborators. Yeah. Neither side is enough for it. I'm sure recently you've heard of AI training jobs from Handshake, from these popular AI training labs. Some it can be labeling, some audio annotation, data annotation. Yes. And in this case, so software developers can contribute by building automation and tooling for AI workflows. They can ensure reliable pipelines and system integration. They can connect AI models to business application. I can add monitoring. I'm sure you've heard, if there are software engineers in the house, you've heard of prompt engineering. That's one of the. As for the non-developers, they bring domain expertise, designing label logic or evaluation framework, applying judgments, translating business into working AI system specification, designing workflows so that human and AI can execute together. So I will finish by going to this second last part. So how fast is the new change coming? It is quite very fast, and coming from me, I'd say I've had to transition very fast in the past 1 year from software engineering now to AI engineering, because in the littlest time possible, doing a work that could require 10 engineers with a project manager. Now, right now, it's taking one engineer or two or three at most, with probably no product manager. As you can see, some product manager are actually transitioning to software development because they can understand the scope of a product. They can build with the AI. They know what they. So we need to find a way how to move very fast update our skill so that we become relevant to the job market. So I'll hand over to Vindan so that he can continue from where I've left. And should there be any question, maybe towards the end, we'll answer. So Vindan, please continue.
Let's pause there. Bill has highlighted what companies are doing and what they're looking into. But there's something, since Catherine Itebete colleague joined us tonight, I'm going to step back into the presenter seat to break down the exact pathways you can target tomorrow morning. And then again, I'm going to also talk about what you should actually be careful when transitioning, because transition is the key thing here. So let me go back to the presentation and then hook you up. If you've been in a project when you're running something, we normally have someone called a project manager. Their role is to ensure that a project actually becomes a success. They coordinate different teams. What happens when this project manager, who was supposed to be actually taking care of the welfare of different teams to achieve a certain goal, becomes the most powerful person in the room? Why am I saying so? If they understand the scope of our project, then with the eye, they can, at 80%, do what the entire team could do. And that is something that you need to take note of. Stepping on this seat as the guide, my role, maybe I didn't mention it before, as Bill transitioned to AI engineer with the TTACS. TTACS actually started as a software development company by the name Evolve. We brought this product, TTACS Consulting, specifically in the data and AI sector. So I am the person in charge, executive data and AI, strategist consultant, and I look at different dimensions in dealing with this problem when it comes to AI. So where I'm going to step in is somewhere that you need to put so much attention, and all the effort should go there, basically. I want to now take you, how is your mapping? I gave you a gist. I mentioned the second wave having two broad areas. I talked about the infrastructure personnel and the execution, the governance. So, given what you're facing currently, unemployment has been existing, and the job market is shrinking day in, day out. The education sector is producing massive. It's producing human labor, learning people. Around every year we graduate over 60,000, and that is new people in the market. What happens when there's redundancy? A company would definitely scale down redundancy, because redundancy affects the cost of running something but doesn't improve productivity. That is from a business perspective. Assuming that you're doing, we are 10 people doing a work that amounts to 30% output, and 4 people could actually give us the 30% output. As a business owner, I'm gonna go with 4, so that I'm inhuman. I'm just becoming effective with what I'm doing. So to speak, your transition might not be the same as these transitions or Vindan's transition. I'm actually happy to know that I'm also a software developer, because one of the roles that I've actually excelled previously working with a company like AWS has been on the AI prompt engineer and evaluations engineer, which I didn't know was a software developer's role. But now you outside there, I want to now reflect on your careers based on the data set that you took through. Here, we had the first quadrants, we had those who are in school, students. Now the students are divided into 2 categories. We have the tech students, and then we have the non-tech. And then we had people in the career that already on the employment. Again, we have the non-tech and the tech personnel. We also had graduates. Also, we have the non-tech and the tech ones. So to speak, In my classification, just the same way I'm dividing the roles into two, you realize that my product classification group is super into either tech or non-tech. If you are in tech, you need to update your portfolio. What you are running with before. I have to tell you this. Employers are not going to take generic portfolios and resume and, run them around and then they take you fit for a job. No. That's not happening now. The same calculator app we developed 4 or 5 years ago is not going to be effective in this particular era. And that's something you need to know. Recruiters are running away from the auto reject copy and paste GitHub clones or the apps, and they are highlighting the need for the live portfolios. The live portfolio is something you know, something you can demonstrate, something that makes sense in your mind, something making you unique. That is not something AI can do, something that has got originality. For instance, we can go and take Adidas sales. We as data analysts, for example, we take an Adidas sales data set and analyze it, do a dashboard. And then what next? Showcase it in my resume that I did a project. Well, that landed someone's job the year that data set was actually created. So what has happened to you? You've actually taken yourself back to redundancy of something that everyone is seeing. And the problem is the emerging market is teaching you how to become data analyst, how to become a business analyst, without considering the second wave coming. So it's already putting you at the biggest risk. Look at the curriculum change in our education system. Last time I had a review on the curriculum, I was in some courses were being dropped for not being relevant to the market, and then CBC or slash CBE came trying to teach people hands-on. But then again, the hands-on became so technical. Something that I like about the CBE that reflects the future is in the STEM curriculum, the STEM pathway, computer science became like one of the key things that you have to do. Why was it so? Tech was fast evolving and everyone needed to remain relevant for them to survive this particular era. So let me bring you back into the mapping. One thing that you have to agree, you have to be tech ready wherever you are. Not as a consumer, but someone who, for you to do right governance, you must understand the underlying infrastructure. I do not mean you need to do a code that develops an entire Rome empire, but understanding the framework of that Rome empire is very, very important. That's something you need to know. It's non-negotiable. Everyone must be AI and tech ready, and differentiate AI consumer ready and AI infrastructure ready. Those are two different things. Many people think that if you know how to interact with the Gemini, you know how to interact with the Cloudy, then I'm good. No, you are not. Behold the shock upon you. Why? A lot is happening. We've seen the weakness. The second wave is focusing on precision. How good are you able to do this rather than so and so? For example, if I was to hire a data analyst, do I want to hire a data analyst that is going to give me a dashboard? Or a data analyst that is going to use the available tools that are there, knowing their risks and precision, to give me a solution that I couldn't know, me being a non-techie person? Because as a non-techie person, I can go and write something to ChatGPT, it can do the analysis. Something that the analyst should bring is something far beyond what a normal person would do. And that's where you incorporate your good eye of AI infrastructure to bring the best out of you. And then pivoting into careers now becomes something. You do not want to end up being the person who looks like a bounty hunter. In software development, there's a phase called pen testing, where we test the software before it's deployed to the market. It's given to bounty hunters trying to look for cracks so that before it's attacked, we anticipate them. You do not want to end up in that particular line where wherever field you are, you meet a challenge, or you have AI, it will give us this, or what you're telling us, you already know about it. No, there are other careers that bring that limelight to you, and that is what I want to map out for you in this presentation. So I'm taking you here. It's a broad career line. There's something called LLM OPS. LLM OPS basically means large language models of operations. Well, it might sound like everyone is going to train AI, but let's look at it inwardly. Not everyone is going to train AI, that is number one, but understanding the architecture behind it is very, very, very important. For example, in the banking industry, we want to deploy a model that does credit scoring. That's actually not just the banking industry, it's also in the fintech industry. This model that does scoring can be done with the traditional method. We could do logistic regression, and then it gives us this one as scored this. But remember, the data is changing dynamically. So for me to get one that is accurate without facing the type 1 into type 2 error, now speaking technical terms, data scientist and data analyst here can get that clear. I would need a more robust algorithm. And that's where LLM comes to be very, very important. Because with LLM, I'm able to feed it, feed my pipeline, the M-Pesa statement, and then I get even better scoring and evaluation. Now you see, you as a data analyst coupled up with machine learning, we're now having a ML data analyst. And that one is now very, very important for the future because now you are able to do 2-in-1 or even 3 more things because you understand the architecture and the framework. That's about DS, that data science and the data analyst, basically the data guy. Now, we're talking about the non-techie personnel. Who is really going to help me with this? The non-techie personnel, they somewhere we need them. They are the people who understand. They own what is called the domain knowledge. Remember, I said that tech readiness is non-negotiable. So you need to be tech ready, irrespective of the domain. But if I look at a career that now will be of a bigger break for you as a non-tech personnel, look at AI content evaluator. This is content that is already a feedback from the model. It's you who understand, has it actually done what it was meant to do, or it has hallucinated? And if it has hallucinated, where has it done so? And how do I give the recommendation? So AI content evaluators, what they do, they formulate qualitative testing suits, evaluate level distribution, and govern model judges. It's a perfect for analytical educators. So someone in the education, someone in the fintech, so those specific domains, they can easily transition to that once they become AI ready. They are going to transition to that. Now, let's look at what is called enterprise data stewards. These are people who basically catalog enterprise assets. They track data lineage. They ensure metadata integrity. They police PII compliance. PII compliance is basically personal identifiable information of someone. It's ideal for career switcher. Why? These career switchers, they have been into this field before they become AI ready. They understand the data leakage in every area. They know the patterns to read through because they own that domain. So they drive the policy. Whenever AI is being talked about, they are not the policy makers. You tell me, where did you hear people being trained to become policy makers in AI? Because even our laws in Kenya, we're still struggling with what should we govern in the AI and what should we not. Our entire government has been rendered into Data Privacy Act. AI is really struggling to understand its core mandate and everything. So, if you look at the enterprise data steward and the AI content evaluators, it is coming to the non-techie personnel. Well, this is all cause that I'm pretty sure in the next coming 2-3 years, you will be paying millions just to get a glance of it. Because I was checking Oxylab. Oxylab is paying, you go check at one time, Oxylab, go to its hiring site. It's a data company. It has an entire department looking for people in it. Unfortunately, it's looking for senior position in it. But you tell me, who do you know that is already senior in this position with this fast-growing technology? And how many can you count? So for non-techie personnel, I look at two areas that actually becomes of great value for you. If I was in fintech, then I understand every rule that is in the finance. Now coupled up with the AI, any model before it is taken to the market, it passes through me to approve it because I understand the model of me, but I understand my domain maximum. But it is being trained. I can actually score it and know where it is featuring. For you, who is already in software development, well, I have to be honest with you. Anybody who is interacting with what is called a database is where we store our data. It's all about data. But think about it. The second wave is all about making that infrastructure as productive as possible so that you have value. Nobody wants to pay for an AI model that doesn't know how to differentiate between a man and a woman. Yes, that is a problem. If it's a man, it should be a man. If it's a woman, it should be a woman. So it's high time we start thinking away from software development, but to the core architecture. Because cloud can do this, yes. Other models can help you write codes. But the architecture in the pipeline now becomes the problem. To make that model be so productive, we need you to understand the architecture. So your role is to do what? You architect chunking logic, you need to secure the vector layers, and validate context windows boundaries. Ideal for technical upskillers. Yes, Bill is an example, even to AI engineering. Might sound like a term from the blues here in Kenya and other places, but the impact is right there next to you. There's no room for you to write generic codes anymore. If you're still in school trying to write logistic linear regression model, train data set, and then get your prediction score, well, I could have written that one in probably 5 seconds and get an answer in the eye. But if I understand the architecture clearly, then I have my own value taken to the next level. So that's something that is very, very important to do. In Kenya now, it is being embraced in every area. If you're planning, if you're on the technical field, you want to go to work in equity, yes, equity is already working on its tech company, not tech department, tech company. Watch out, it's coming. If you're in the health, AI is already doing wonders. We saw what is happening in KRA, education sector. A lot of models are being tested outside there. Well, a lot is happening. Someone might wonder, if we all go through this, then what is going to make us be unique? How are we going to stand out? I have to tell you that when I was mentioning FlexVertex and Oxylabs, we learned that one of the jobs that I was told back in uni that is the most boring became the most golden. There's something called data preparation, data cleaning, data manipulation, name them. When I used to overlook it, I didn't know it made so much sense until the second wave of AI hit me. Why? I came to understand that there's a lot that you need to do for you to have quality fuel, and the fuel is the data. For that data to make sense, this layer must be fully taken care of. It must be perfectly curated, data curation. It must be fully evaluated, data evaluation. It must be fully scored, data scoring. What I mean by that is, I want to create a model. I want to train it for the people of Mulima, the Kikuyu. I need to understand, is it clean enough? Have they done with the redundancy of that particular billion, metadata, petabyte? Is it clean? Does it not have the redundancy? Good. When it's clean, it's going to save the company something. I'm sure you've heard these terms called tokens, tokenization. Tokenization is how we measure data when using it to train a model. So that the higher the token, the more expensive it becomes. When we have clean data in it, it's like garbage in, garbage out. They will still hallucinate. We need to make sure that the data is curated to a point where tokens are not misused. Instead, they are optimized. Evaluation. This data, how is it? Is it actually in the context of what you want to train? Because you can't turn a data to a model that needs to be, say, identifying a man and a woman, but to use data from the animals, where it is seeing cows, seeing goats, seeing dogs. Well, it might have a female and male, but the context is going to be obviously outside. And then, what is the confidence interval do we have confidence do we have of our data before it's ingested to the model? That's where data scoring comes in. So guess what? We actually, through TTACS, FlexVertex, and Boxing, we came to learn that, wow, these three areas are bigger drivers of this field for it to be relevant. And that's why we are like, oh, we need to repivot. Having to mention this, we can have this conversation longer and longer, but those are the areas. When, as the implementation and the execution of AI is coming through, you need to understand that every area coming, you either gonna be the consumer or the implementer. Where do you want to base yourself with respect to your domain? It's upon you to choose. If you want to be the consumer, that's all on you. If you want to be the implementer and the governor, the architect, that's again on you. TTACS, the only thing it will do is make it known to you what is coming and what's not coming. So apart from that, I would like to take you somewhere. I've talked about this AI stuff so much. I also mentioned to you that employers are running away from the repositories that are cloud, if you understand what I mean. Those GitHubs, those portfolios that you're showing that is obviously any other person, they're actually doing away with it. For example, when you submit a portfolio showcasing generic crude apps or to-do list, you prove your skills belong to the automated tier. And remember, automation doesn't spare you. Recruiters see this as AI-generated templates and filter them out immediately. So you don't get those calls. Why would I even take you serious when you're giving me something I've been seeing year in, year out? To me, the strategy should to be different. For you to stand out, showcase your custom pipeline skills, API tracking layers, token optimization, caching logics, programmatic validation structures. Demonstrate that you can solve the exact infrastructure bottleneck that the hiring managers are struggling with today, because that's what they need. Bringing up the third aspect of this particular career fair, you are checking the areas that need improvement, how we can transition to them, where we can get the resource, and how we can get quick and going. I've looked into some institutions that are trying to help me mitigate this. The closest that I have found that is near what TTACS want to roll out was Moringa School on their AI engineering program. You can check it out at runtime. Also, you can check Labs Dev HQ. They are rolling out AI data science and AI training. I've checked out this perspective. But there's something that I learned that was so common. Number one, the amount of time you are taking for you to at least be up and going, the qualifications that are needed, the end result of what you're having. So Moringa summarizes it all. If you look at the primary, let's look at the core matrix. A matrix for the non-techie people is basically something you use to evaluate. It's like a comparison point of things. So the core matrix I was checking were basically four. I was looking at the program length, primary focus, AI integration, and the market target. If you look at the course being offered by Moringa, it's going to take you 14 to 24 weeks. That's long-term academic commitment. Trust me. Primary focus. It was basically generalized template, coding, and broad model building. So it is still on the build era. AI integration. These were people using AI models to generate basic code blocks. The market target was already in the saturated juniors, currently experiencing hiring freeze, among other comparisons. When you go home, have rest at your own time, you can compare them. Are they able to take you from point A to point B? Not mentioning that you needed to be having some years of experience in the development world for you to transition to it. What TTACS is offering in return is 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a lot. You can do a lot with it, given what technology is offering. It is a high-intensity production sprint that you're looking into. The primary focus is on the data hygiene, token control, ingestion boundary. Why did we pick these three areas? Irrespective of your field, whether technical or non-technical, understanding these three particular domains makes you AI infrastructure relevant and ready. Why am I saying so? When you are able to understand this, the AI integration, now engineering programmatic validation filters for models becomes easier for you. And now we can work together. Now you can say here AI is really resonating because of ABC. Not just saying, hapa AI not enjoy. No, no, you know why it is doing so. The market target. Why was it going into this? The second wave is actually having the uncrowded blue ocean. Data architecture vacancy are so much unimaginable. They are so wide and wide. So that's something that I realized was very, very much noise. Like I mentioned before, bypassing the traditional junior software stagnation blocks, coupling your background with the high fidelity AI data infrastructure, the undisputable professional gold standard of 2026. It took us about 2.5 years, and then to build and customize our sales, probably didn't even hear about TTACS or Evolve Development in the shop, Dev Shop, or even Dev Shop, which were our own software development companies. But when we came up with TTACS AI data side, it took us less than 2 months to hit deals in the company. By the way, go check FlexVertex. I'm not bragging, but FlexVertex is from San Francisco. If you know very well, that is where Silicon Valley is. So we are having bootcamps with them in the future. We are having webinars to do together because we have been sharing the same dream. Oxylabs is in Lithuania. Just in a span of 2 weeks, two big giants are coming knocking at our door. And that's how you can also transform your particular strength and channel it to the right direction. So, with all the respect, that's what it entails. And now, having brought in, stepped in for Catherine, now you can actually, Bill, you can take over to summarize on our areas. The high velocity path print, it's already done by me. You can take on the last bit. Is that okay with you, Bill?
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you.
So I think I won't take much time. And Vindrian has gone in depth on what we are trying to achieve. So I'll wrap it up. What are the few comments I give is in this era of AI, those I'll say those who are rewarded, the professions who are rewarded are those who understand how AI works. The opportunities belongs to anyone who can work within the intersection of data, judgment, reliability, and domain experience. So in the next, I think, 12 to 24 months, it will shape long-term careers. You do not need to be a researcher to build in a future with AI. You need to understand how the current systems work, the current tools work, make them reliable, useful by positioning yourself and getting yourself hired in these roles. And the way you do that is focusing on is being data oriented and how to use these tools correctly. So I think I'll stop at that. That should be our talk for today. So Vindrian, I think, yeah, you can wrap it up, or if there is if there's a question or a concern, we can answer if there is any before we we close things up.
Yes, just like Bill has mentioned, I'm opening the platform for question. In the meantime, there's a form going around for registration of the bootcamp. I highly encourage you to participate in it. Give us that feedback. Is it really what you want, and can you be part of that particular change? So we are waiting for your questions. Bill will take us on the question sector, but they are not limited just to Bill alone. Anybody who feels like coming to the answer will definitely get the answer to you, either myself or Bill. There's some people that tried joining, but they were not allowed to join. They probably came late. I pardon them, but the recording will be there for them. So if there are no questions, you can still catch us on LinkedIn, on our YouTube. This particular meeting recording, you'll find it on our YouTube channel. You follow us there, you get more insight. But on LinkedIn, I'm very much active. My handle is Onyango Odiambo. Yes, so my profile is the same one I use everywhere. We can have that interaction over there. So, Bill, without much to burn, I believe it's been a productive session. And something I learned when I was young is that sometimes what we need is something opens your eye. Something open your eye to a point where I'm seeing a hand raised. Something can open your eye to a point where you need time to digest it, then understand it fully before you act. I believe that is what is happening with our listeners, and I will not crucify them for that. That's actually a positive thing happening. I so much appreciate it. I believe this was a thought-provoking moment that gave you an insight of what the future looks like. And for you to survive the storm, you know what it takes. So the bootcamp will run in 6 weeks. It will depend on how urgent it seems in your world. If it's not, again, we are going to make you climb a mountain that you don't want to climb. Again, it's actually strict and limited. We're not opening a full class. We're only targeting a specific number. Just like you saw in our attendance, our collection, we had 27 participants. We are only looking into having 10. So the first 10, we have two types for non-techie 10, for techie 10. So that means we have like a cohort of 20 divided into 2 pairs. And that's what we'll get about with. So think about what you want to develop, who you want to be. These chances don't come twice. These badges are not there to be handed over. So the high level data layer is very, very important. The admission will be completely selective. If you want to knock your mods, the window is open right now and into some future. So you can just fill up the form, or you can reach out to me via email. You have my emails, and we'll get you on board. Any other question will be done. Bill, is there anything you want to add? I'm feeling like our meeting has been adjourned.
No, I do not have much to add. Like you said, should they have any more question, they can reach out.
Yes,
They can reach out to you or to me. My LinkedIn profile is Bill Malaya. That's the same goes. Okay, my email is billmalaya@gmail.com. And yeah, I think that's all. We can.
Especially the software dev community.
Yes.
For me, the non-techie and the data-driven people, feel free to have those conversations. So, guys, thank you very much for your attendance. I'll share everything, and you are allowed to leave the meeting at your own time. So your friend who did not actually attend the meeting, I'll share the link with them so that they can actually get to enjoy. You can leave at your own pace.